I'm a consultant addiction medicine doctor. I have been practicing for several years, managing people with addictive disorders. I must, before I do anything today, I have to commend Team's challenge. For me, every one of us here, we are all stakeholders with this big, this is the meanness in the world. It's a global problem, and it cuts across all age groups, it cuts across all sects, it cuts across different political contexts, social contexts, and it's something that requires collaboration. It requires collaboration. Everybody is doing something right, but how can we make it work and improve our treatment outcomes and improve treatment retention? I don't have the slide today, but I will focus on an explanatory model of what we deploy when managing addiction generally. I will start with the defining addiction, which I think some of us might be well aware of. It's a primary chronic disease of the brain, reward, motivation, memory, and related circuitry. So there are circuits in the brain where you have areas that has the memory, that has your motivation, that's responsible for your reward. They are affected, and this dysfunction within all these circuits is responsible for the biological consequences, the psychological consequences, the behavioral consequences, as well spiritual manifestations as well. So the issue is that how will a problem like this just affect every area of a person's life? Because this is about someone maybe once being functional, and at a point there's a deterioration in your life expectations, deterioration in your life, in your functionality, and you're exposed to several impairments in every aspect of your life. Now, one thing is, how do we approach this type of problem in a holistic manner that we address all these problems? And I'm going to start with itemizing some of these models that have been used in the past and what we use currently. So I will start with the moral theory. So moral theory, I'm sure some of us know we even still adopt that theory in Nigeria. It's kind of explaining how substance use is linked to moral depravity, and this has led to discrimination, stigmatization, incarceration, and you find some of our law enforcement agents picking up these guys, throwing them up in the cell, and the truth is this has only perpetuated the harms of addictive disorders in our society today, because it doesn't really help. What it does is that when they know, oh, they can come to pick me anytime, they isolate themselves, and they could even be at the risk of having an overdose, and having other possible harms that are associated with the behavior. That's for moral theory. The next theory I will delve into is the disease model, which is where I and my fellow professionals fall into. Treatment professionals generally. Treatment model makes us understand how addiction is a disease. So approaching it as a disease, just looking at it, just maybe at the biological level, we feel or we just see it as, oh, this person has a disease of the reward system, a disease of the motivation and memory area, and so what we just need is, okay, let us see how we can deploy practices that would help in managing the withdrawals. For instance, we could say, oh, let us put someone who has an alcohol use disorder on disulfiram, let us put someone who has a nicotine use disorder, maybe on pyridine. But does that solve the entire problem? No. So we on our own know just the biological model or the disease model doesn't address it. I will delve into the psychological model. So in the psychological model, it is saying that addiction is a means to cope. I think I've heard it from Team Challenge, that was said and stated as well. It's like a means to cope. So it's a strategy that our brain just kind of developed to deal with life stressors and to deal with issues. And over time, it must have been tried and it worked. So you now kind of find yourself reinforcing this reward because it helps you deal with your anxiety, it helps you deal with your depression, it could help you deal with traumatic experiences. That is for the psychological model. I'll go to another model, which is the epigenetic model. Epigenetic model makes us understand how substance use could be related to the hereditary component. The truth is, we cannot generalize it, but yes, are there findings there? Yes. A classical scenario was with Houston, who Lake Houston, who died of stimulant use disorder, and her daughter also died of stimulant use disorder. So there's a complex interaction between our genes and the environment. We can't explain it, but there's a genetic expression in the sense that when a member of the first degree relatives of an individual is exposed to a particular substance, like either his dad or his brother or his sister have used before, there's a high tendency that this person is likely to get addicted to that substance. So that is for the epigenetic model. The next model I will delve into now is the global structure, social structures and economical determinants, which is where I feel some of us to deploy treatment models that assist in that. And that's where we talk about issues with unemployment, housing, So this is where we could start developing practices and policies that helps in skill empowerment, that helps in getting these guys to be more functional in life, adding more value to them, because that model helps us look at substance use in the context of not necessarily it being the problem, but because these people are deprived of livelihood, work, money, housing. So that is the reason that they delve into drugs, to deal with that. Now, after an understanding of all these models, I will delve into the model that's widely accepted right now, which is what I use because I adopt what we call an holistic care. And this model is the neurobiology model. So I didn't call it the biology model, but the neurobiology model. Neurobiology model. So neurobiology model makes us understand how psychoactive substances disrupt the mesolimbic dopamine system. Now, in disrupting this mesolimbic dopamine system, because I've mentioned earlier that around those areas you have your reward system, you have your motivation, you have memory. These changes results to the feelings, the cognition, which is the thinking process, and the behavior in itself that are associated with substance use. Now, when we look at this model helps us to intersect some of these other theories and bring them together so that we can have better outcomes and treatment retention. The basic foundation of this is first we try to see how let's work on managing their withdrawal symptoms. Then we can take a step further and see how we can help them cope with their cravings, cope with urges, and later how can we prevent relapse. Now I mentioned how collaboration is key. The truth is, any model that means to treat substance use disorder, it has to be reflexive of all these multiple contexts of substance use problem. It has to be reflexive. It is not just a health policy response. It requires a multidimensional collaboration from every sector that works with substance. Now, for instance, Teen Challenge are doing a whole lot with recovery. They talk about transformation. Transformation by renewing of your mind. And the truth is, when we talk about recovery in itself, we look at it from different angles. We're talking about relapse prevention, we're talking about motivation. How can our clients enhance motivation and sustain it? Because one thing is enhancing the motivation. Without motivation, there can't be any recovery, there can't be any change. Motivation is the first thing. So how can we get our clients to enhance it and now maintain it? We say it's from two angles. What some people could find, maybe reflect on the consequences this has caused them, that might just be enough. And some people just by themselves could decide to stop, and they don't even need to go to any center. They might not even necessarily need help. They just decide that no, this thing has caused me, I have to stop. And some people could, some people do well with their right brain. They could kind of have like a projection, you know. They ponder in the future and look at where will I be in the next 2 years, where will I be in the next 5 years if I keep indulging in this behavior. And that might be enough for them to stay up their motivation. Another part of relapse prevention that is very important is how do we manage our thoughts, feelings, and behavior. Rational emotive behavioral therapy makes us understand how behaviors don't just happen.
Right.
In renewing of your mind, as Teen Challenge coming, we have to go on how what do we preoccupy our mind with? How can we manage our thoughts? Because there is a linkage between our thoughts, feelings, before behavior just happens. Most times, I think, okay, you could do an analysis. Maybe you sit with a client right now, and the client tells you, okay, I get to, most times when I'm having an urge, I just end up going to use it because I feel desperate. But you know one thing is, the urge in itself doesn't have a direct effect on using. Some people have an urge. The question is, what do you tell yourself about that urge? What are your beliefs? Are your beliefs irrational? Are your beliefs rational? Are they demand-based? Are they reality-based? Because this whole concept is what, if one isn't efficient enough to change those beliefs and dispute with their rational beliefs, they end up having a relapse or going back. And I think having this challenge, even working with these clients in renewing their mind, that is what they are doing. But they might not know that is the principle. The fundamental principle here is how can these individuals manage thoughts, feelings, and behaviors? Understanding that, you know, okay, a craving comes right now. There might be several voices, you know. Yourself something might be telling you, don't take it, don't take it, you know. And from all these voices, which do you choose? Because our choices, the voices we hear, over time, it's now there for us to determine our choices. And our choices will end up determining our experiences. The behavior we end up eliciting all falls back to our belief system. So what do you really believe in? If you believe that I have to drug for me to live life, I have to, you might end up not making a headway. And in relapse prevention, it also goes beyond managing thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. We take them on how they can also lead a balanced life. And I think trying to come into skill empowerment, you know, making them to go by their life goals, that's another approach we also use to sustain. So I think for addiction generally, it's about collaboration. And one sector can't do it alone. Everybody needs to come together and work together. Let's see what works in Teens Challenge. Let's see what works. Let's see what works there. We can all work together to sustain recovery, because the goal here is how can we improve the outcomes? How can we reduce chances of relapse? Right? How can we sustain recovery? So I think it's all about intersectoral collaboration, and everybody is doing great. It's not a competition. It's about how can we all just work together and complement each other. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Afternoon once again. This is going to be an interactive section.
Yes.
We are from A and D. My name is Gideon Ogbonna. I'm a fund manager over there.
My name is Isubu Ifadi.
Today, we are going to be looking, because we are the intermediary personnel between the faith-based and the evidence-based. We do both practices. So we are going to be talking from our own experiences of how we do our work using the faith-based and also introducing some aspects of the evidence-based.
Okay, so the purpose of this discourse is to explain what we do at A&D. A&D is a referral service center, and we are case managers. It's a faith-based facility, and what we do is, though we know and we believe, because that is our tenet in A&D, we believe Jesus Christ is the cure, and at the same time, we partner with every other person in the treatment curriculum plan to see how productivity can be achieved. So I will ask you a question that, okay, so what are the benefits of establishing faith-based organization? Thank you.
Now, that's a wonderful question because a lot of people have been looking at this and been asking questions in this area. What are the benefits of faith-based in helping us in the area of recovery and those ones that are going through addiction? There's so much of it, but I'm going to be mentioning but a few. One of them is that when you are in a faith-based organization, they help you in the area of a long-time recovery process. Because one thing we've come to understand is that if you're talking about treatment or you're talking about recovery plans or support, one thing you have to look about is that man is a tripartite person. So what are those things that makes up a man? The spirit, the soul, and the body. And so if you're talking about treatment, you need to make sure that you touch every area of this aspect for this person to really go through healing process well. So one of the things that the faith does is that they help us in our psychosocial aspect. They make sure that they touch every aspect of those ones. Like Pastor Benny has said, you can't take away the family, you can't root that one out. What are the haunting aspects about this person? What is the love that you're showing this person? Because so many people, they don't have that message. But when you begin to bring the message of love to them, and they begin to see that aspect, they can talk to you. Like me, many of the people that I work with, I've never used drugs, but I have a lot of them as friends, and they talk to me. There's no insight of things that happen to them they don't share with me, just because of the way we portray ourselves, and we come to them and work with them and understand them. They also have the boundaries that we need to have.
Okay, let me also add to that. Faith-based organization serve as a non-judgmental zone for people, and faith-based serve as a bridge to bridge a gap between the hard-to-reach population. And so sometimes when they come, some clients will come into A&D and be like, don't judge me, don't condemn me. Would not tell them, please, this is a non-judgmental zone. We are not here to condemn you, we are not here to judge you. We don't believe in your past, we don't define you by your past, but we believe in what God is said to do in your life, what Jesus Christ is said to do in your life. So, as faith-based organization, faith-based organizations serve as platform in helping to reach populations, and through their activities like evangelism, outreaches, cell groups, and when people come in for assessment, we tell them information about you is confidential. So these are benefits of actually establishing faith-based organizations.
Now, I will have to ask us something right now. So, looking from the evidence base, what are the things that helps our working to be more effective that we have been doing?
Okay, just like what our boss said earlier, it's Folashable make us understand the fact that when people come in, we let them know that life is spiritual. And the fact that life is spiritual, you have a spirit, you have a soul, and you are living in a body.
That's right.
So from this angle, when people come into us, we assess them, going through assessment procedures and all of that, we make them understand the fact that, okay, Jesus can save you, you will receive treatment as a spirit, and then we minister gospel to them, and they accept Jesus Christ as a personal Lord and Savior. Most of them are Christians. They will say Christians in quotes, but when we realize, no, they are just Christian by name, but they have not actually been working in that biblical principles. And sometimes because they are coming from dysfunctional family, maybe there are no structures, there are no boundaries in the families. So at A&D also we also involve parents, because we cannot treat them in isolation of the parents. And so parents are involved in their treatment plan, and the parents are made to understand the fact that they also need to put them through these boundaries, structures, and biblical principles. Thank you so much.
Okay. I want to also add to that. that yes, when we bring in, when the clients come and they are going through the process, we've done the first aspect, which is telling them the love of God, and they can realize that yes, there is hope for them, and they now begin to build on their faith and begin to work on that aspect. Other things that will tell them that this is a fight that you need to fight. It is not just a one-time thing. Then I am prepared to fight this fight, and we have to come in. We have to come in as professional. Then we bring the family in also to come in, so that we can all fight this battle together, encouraging the person.
With the power of the Holy Spirit. And yeah, so and then would like to also mention that there will still need for faith-based organization to embrace some evidence-based practices. When I mean evidence, because sometimes research has shown that faith-based organizations are actually the solutions for various problems we have in our societies today. But as faith-based organizations, sometimes we are slow to embrace some strategies, some evidence-based practices that can enhance our productivity. And some of these come in form of evaluation, clinical evaluation. At A&D, when clients come in, because we have also gone for trainings, and because we are adherents of more knowledge, so we go for trainings to enhance our productivity, to enhance effectiveness in our practice. Because of course we know that Jesus Christ is the key, but sometimes when this strategy is not well formed, or when we don't have the right strategies, then we will actually lose out on. Sometimes clients will come, I don't need all this we are saying, I don't need Jesus, I don't need that. All what I need is treatment, just give me medications and I'll be off it. So what we tell them that it's a process, and then from the first thing we know is the clinical assessment. So when they come in, we make use of tools that are derivative from our various trainings we have gathered over years, using the universal treatment curriculum and all of that. And so by then, we know we measure 7 areas of potential problems areas. These areas are medical status, legal status, alcohol and drug history, family history, and social status, employment status, and psychiatric status. These are problems areas we assess to give us to help us to give us insight into their root problems. And so because some people come, these people that are struggling with addiction, sometimes they might have one way or the other in their lifetime had issues with the legal practitioners, and this actually can hinder their treatment progress. And also, we also believe that treatment is a process, and because it is a process, sometimes when we preach, and that I think maybe one of the speakers he mentioned that sometimes they provided projector and all of that, and they couldn't find, because we know that it's a process. Yes, the spirit has been ministered to, but they have to go through the process of renewing of the mind, and sometimes I tell, because as a Christian psychologist, I believe that most of these things are actually found in the biblical principles. When we say cognitive behavioral therapy, as a man thinks, so he is. As a man thinks, so he is. So it's just a name or labels that are being given. And when I tell them that, okay, cognitive behavioral therapy, cognitions, it starts from your thinking, and the way you think actually pushes you to the way you behave. And sometimes when we sit with them, we begin to identify some of these dysfunctional mindsets, because as they speak, we believe that, well, when you speak and you listen to someone, you gain insights to their mindset, because we talk and we listen out of our mindset. So when we sit with them during our counseling sessions, we begin to identify some of their mindsets. Sometimes they may come with entitlement mentality. They may start to blame their family. They want to start to blame their dysfunctional families. They want to start to blame irresponsible fathers. They want to start to blame their abuse. Yes, we know you have gone through this, and you are coming from this past. Yes, we want to, but through counseling and through the guidance of the Holy Spirit, people are being led to identify this mindset, and then these mindsets are being worked upon. Another reason why also we need to embrace practices that would enhance our strategies, even at faith-based organization, is the fact that sometimes, it will give you an orientation of how to handle, an orientation about ethical considerations. In one of in our experience, very recent, one of the client came in, and the friend actually sponsored the treatment plan, and they came in and requested for their medical reports. They want to have confidential information about the client. And so we said that, okay, well, considering these ethics in our profession and how we work, we cannot release these medical reports. And of course, having this knowledge about all these evidence-based practices actually help us sometimes to confront those that say, okay, this is how it works, this is how it works. But when we are found grounded in these evidence-based practices, it will actually give us the effrontery to actually confront them and to let them know that, okay, this is how we have been working and this is what is working. Because actually, what is evidence-based? What has worked over time and has produced results. So even as faith-based organization, as we are looking at the fact that, okay, Jesus is the cure, at the same time, we should also be confident enough to tell them that this is what has worked in the past, this is what is working in our organization, and we can also tell the world that this is what is working, Jesus is working, and our strategies will be enhanced every time. Thank you.
I want to say something now. One of the challenges we had when we tried it twice was Muslims coming, and how do we face those people? Okay. So I'm going to tell you a practical experience on that aspect. We had about 3 of them coming one time, and they looked at us, we said we were faith-based. But one thing that we didn't take away from what we are doing is the way we show our love to them. Yes, we are faith-based. We talk about Jesus. And yes, this is the evidence of the things that Jesus Christ has done to us. But we might not be shouting Jesus, Jesus, Jesus right now. But look at it, and you will see the fruits of what we are talking around us. And eventually, they came into treatment. They came into treatment eventually because of the way, when you come in, the warmness, the compliment, the soothing words, encouraging them, letting them know that even from those broken hearts and broken pieces of their life, there's a lot of things that you can become again. Letting them realize that yes, this is not the end for their life. There is so much more for you that you are yet to see because of all the baggages that you're carrying around right now. But if you can just take away those baggages, you can see what is in front of you. And that is the way we treat them. And eventually they come in.
Thank you. And also knowing fully well that this treatment is a process. Sometimes there may be need for referral if need be. Take for instance, maybe clients that are addicted to heroin, opioids, and all of that, because sometimes these withdrawal symptoms actually vary in degrees from one person to another. And so sometimes that's why the previous people, Dr. Honest mentioned collaboration, because some of these people, when we had a client that came in and was actually addicted to tramadol, that's opioid. And so when he came in, we said, I know Jesus works, and we prayed for him. Actually, he dedicated his life to Jesus. And he was like, so what next? I'm having severe symptoms, and we cannot take these experiences from them. And so sometimes, because of their level of maturity in faith, and because of the level of maturity, sometimes we may need to refer them for inpatient rehabilitation, maybe for 1 month, so that they can go through the detoxification process, maybe substance substitution therapy for a while, and then when they come back in, and then we then take it up from there so that they can continue the therapy. When I mean therapy, I'm talking about counseling sessions, biblical discipleship and all of that with them. So, but sometimes because clients vary from one person to another, when need be, we make referrals to hospital settings so that they can go through these detoxifications and then they can be better. And sometimes clients come with comorbidities. When I mean comorbidities, we have maybe three disorders occurring in the person, like psychosis, severe depression, anxiety disorder, schizophrenia, mental illnesses generally. And so because sometimes we cannot handle these cases, and because before you can even minister gospel or salvation to a person, sometimes it has to be in a right frame of mind. And so we collaborate with psychiatrists, we collaborate with medical doctors and all of that, so that at least they would go through this medically assisted therapy, and then when they are in the right frame of mind, then we continue from them. So as faith-based organizations, let us also be let us be curious to know more. Let us improve, show ourselves approved as workmen that need not to be ashamed. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to go on, but just one question. So, Gideon, can you please give Mr. the mic? Just one question from her, and then we go on to our photo session and tea break. Good afternoon, everyone. I say good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is because of Louder. Okay. I'm a child protection
Zoom.
advocate. You see, as I'm listening to the lectures, I feel bad because looking at our country now, the situation in our country, how do we start?
Yes.
Because it's a very big problem.
Yes.
If you go to the streets, you will see young boys, girls, smoking, drinking. They are no longer afraid. They are no longer afraid. My concern is how do we prevent this? We have, like some streets, we get up to 4 or 5 churches there.
Yes.
So what are the churches doing? And these young people go to church every day. From child protection and enough of our young girls, young people, they get angry easily. If I heard something, they say impatient disorder, whatever. I don't know how we're going to do it for our young people. They will not listen. You cannot correct them, they take correction and all that. At times you'll be talking to them, they'll be doing like this, they are singing and dancing, and their role models are all these Malians and so it's true. Me, I live in a village. I tell them I live in a village in Surulere. They don't agree that I live in a village. So each street, like you move like this, and you have children growing up in these areas. So how do you stop them? They smoke, children see them, they drink. At times, if they drop the sachet, you see children will go and take it and put in their mouth. Cigar, they will go and pick it. And how do we save our young people? Because if we don't do it, I'm afraid of the future. Look at what is happening in the country now. Frustration. Some children, their parents cannot afford to 2 meals or a meal go for them. And you have all these people, dangers all around, that they can say, come and take, come and take. We have Yahoo everything, everywhere. Somebody was telling me that they said there's a school for Yahoo. Schools, we have secret cults now. And cultism and alcohol and all those things they smoke, they go together. Some of the schools, our secondary school, junior secondary, Some teachers will say, please, madam, but how do you help us? I say, me. I cannot help you in that area of autism and all that. Me, I don't know how I can help you. You know? So I don't know, what do we do? Please, how do we go about this thing? That is the only thing I need to hear now. Because the thing is, well, I was close to tears when I was remembering all the things that are happening around us. But you are afraid of passing in that your street, or you are afraid of passing them because of all these young ones. And when they see you, they'll say, my leg, how far, and all that. So please, we need help. Our young people.
We'll take one contribution and then the rest will hold it till after.
Good afternoon, everybody. And I will say, praise the Lord. Hallelujah. And when my sister was speaking, Mrs. Ngozi, she asked what the church is doing. We have a similar situation on my street. And every corner you see sports. And we became concerned and we started to pray. And one thing I believe as one of the solutions is if the source is stamped, maybe it will help reduce the rate of addiction and all that. So we thought about that and we started to pray. And God did answer that prayer. Because on our street there is a major spot and we didn't even realize that it has been brought down by the government. So I want to say, let us do it physically and let us pray as well. And God will do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'll just take a 30 minutes. Please, questions after. After, please. I'm sorry, because of time. We'll take the questions after. So please, can we move for the next photo session? Photo session. For those who were not around when we did, you take it.
So those of you that are following with us on the live stream will be coming. So we'll see you at TC Mainline Evangelism or Bernie and Kathy. Join us in 30 minutes.
Okay, please can we have A&D team with the team challenge group? A&D please with the team challenge group.
David.
Please can we be quick? A&D with the team challenge group, please. A&D.
Okay, A&D team with the teeth challenge. Okay. Are we ready? Okay. All right, I think we can. Okay, so while A&D team is still safe there, we have the Temple School. Temple School, join them. Join them, yes. So the team from Temple School should join the photo session now. Let's try and accommodate everyone in the backdrop. Let's try and accommodate everyone. Okay, are we good? Please remove your face mask so that we can see. Okay. Is everyone captured in the picture?
Everyone, say cheese. All right. So A&D team, Teens Challenge, please stay behind. We will have Dr. Honest now. Okay. Okay, please can we have all the facilitators? If they're already here. Okay. 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 So other organizations here, faith-based, please can you join the picture now? Do you know? Wellspring. Okay. CPN, NLEA, Wellspring Rehab. Please join the picture. Please, everybody will try. So yes. CPN, NDLEA, Wellsprings Rehab. Okay, good. Please join, ma'am. Sorry, one more person wants to join. Okay. Please hold on. All right. Please, would like to still take pictures at the photo area. Please, you can go ahead. The photographer will be on standby. Please feel free to take more pictures and tag A&D referral services on Instagram. Thank you.